I know your organisation is going for 20 years or more, and in the late 80s, in the last recession, shall we say, there was a feeling that in those times that if you went into an unemployment office, you were treated less than with respect, and you were questioned too much about whether you were entitled to this benefit or assistance or not, and there was all of this going on. And I know at that time there was a bit of a PR job done by the department in the sense of these offices are, the people behind the desk will treat you with courtesy, they will treat you with respect, they understand that the unemployment is there's no stigma attached to it. And I'm thinking of that and all of that work that was done, and it's 25 years ago, and here we are again going through the same thing again. Will people going in this morning, will they be treated with respect and with dignity?
Well, just going back to the point you made in terms of when the organisation was founded, first of all, this is a very important year for us in that it marks our 25th anniversary of the founding of the organisation. We were founded back in 1987, and at that time we had a situation where we were looking at mass unemployment, huge emigration, and
just
as you
like
said,
now.
Just like now, yes. I don't think that the founding fathers and mothers of the organisation would have dreamt for a minute that we would be back more or less in the same place. In fact, indeed, I think we're probably worse now than we were in the 1980s in terms of the actual scale of the crisis. So percentage-wise, we still haven't got, the 17.5%, 18% unemployment that we had back in the 80s and into the early 90s. But we've never had 437,000, 450,000 people unemployed. The most we ever had, and it was still a huge figure. And obviously it's all relative to the size of the labour market and the population of the country. But we had in and around 300,000 people who were unemployed. So that was the highest it got. But that was an absolute crisis at the time because it was a smaller labour market and the population of the country was smaller. And yes, people were treated in all sorts of ways. Some had very good experiences in terms of their dealings with the social protection system, but unfortunately that wasn't universal, and many people did find that they were being treated not with the respect that people really do deserve in terms of, when people lose their jobs and all of the worries that are associated with that. They really need to be able to access a service that is there, and that they should be able to see that it's there to support them, to assist them and to work with them to help them to get back to work. Now today we have customer charters, we have obviously staff training programs for staff in social protection offices and other indeed agencies and services. Is it universally applied across the board? Are people being treated in every case with the respect that they deserve? Not judging by some of the feedback that we get from unemployed people, there are still issues in terms of how people are treated.
And yet it's so widespread. There must be some understanding that there's so many people out there unemployed through no fault of their own. I mean, really and truly, it's you'd have to be living on Mars not to be aware of it.
Oh, but the vast majority of people are unemployed through no fault of their own. If you look at the live register, you look at the huge numbers of people that come onto the live register, particularly in the first quarter of 2009, where huge numbers of redundancies, over 70,000 people came onto the register in the first 3 months of 2009. That was unprecedented. That had never happened before. I think it's important though to recognise that the sheer scale of the increase in the demand for services surely and would have impacted on the staff delivering those services. There's no doubt that staff are working under very considerable pressure. They haven't had the additional resources really required, resources that we had called for over the last 4 or 5 years.
And with embargoes on staffing levels within the government departments, I mean, obviously the people will be pressed, shall we say. Absolutely.
We would never underestimate the pressures of work that people are under, although I don't think that doesn't excuse incidents of where people feel that they're not getting the level of service that they really feel that they're entitled to.
John, could I ask you, since the government came into office 18 months ago, there's been a lot of noises made about the government and the recovery programme and all of that. How do you think it's measuring up?
Well, if you were to measure the success of the initiatives, so the Jobs Initiative, the Action Plan for Job, and the Pathways to Work initiative, if you were to measure that purely by looking at, well, has unemployment fallen during that period? Well, unfortunately, not to the extent that it really needs to. When you look at the live register and you look at the graph now, it's kind of it's like a badly drawn straight line. It a little bit up, a little bit down. A wobbly line, Orla. Absolutely. So we haven't seen the type of job creation that we really need to really begin to make a dent in the live register figures. We need to see people coming off the live register in the same numbers as people went on to the live register.
I know there's no quick fix, John, but what do you think should be done or could be done?
I agree. Unfortunately, there is no quick fix. The scale of the crisis, the economic collapse, and the overall financial problems, the fiscal problems that exist currently are clearly a factor in all of this. But there are things we feel that can be done. So, for example, the action plan for jobs. I mean, okay, that's useful. There are a lot of proposed actions in there. Some of them have got longer time frames than we would like to see. We'd like to see some of those maybe shortened, with a real focus on the job creation aspects of the plan. So the recently announced $2.25 billion stimulus package, obviously that's very, very welcome. You're talking about 13,000 potential jobs. But again, the problem there is that it's over quite a number of years, and really those jobs are needed now because unemployed people are desperately anxious and available to take up those jobs. The other concern that we would have, Orla, is that we may start to see, and we hopefully will start to see, job creation coming through. There's absolutely no guarantee, though, that unemployed people are going to get those jobs. So there really is a case, and it's a case that we at the INOU have been making now for a long time, making a case to employers to look at the live register as a very important source of recruitment for jobs.
I think you're so right. I think anecdotally we know that employers look to those in employment first of all, and I think, as you say, that's a shift in mindset we'll have to hope will come.
Yes, I mean, there's massive competition out there for jobs at the moment, and it's not just between people who are unemployed. It's between people who are in jobs and people who don't have jobs. Now, there are some incentives available for employers, the two main ones being the employer PRSI exemption scheme, which is a very useful scheme, but it's quite low take-up on this, and also the revenue job assist, which is a really potentially significant benefit for the employer.
And that is only available to employers if they take somebody off the register?
Yes, if they take somebody off the register, there are some qualifying criteria in terms of the jobs and how long they should last, etc. But those incentives are there, but again, they're very, very low take-up relative to the overall number of people on the register, and obviously relative to the, I suppose, the number of jobs that have been created. Certainly not enough, but there has been some job creation, but we're not seeing the evidence that we need to see that employers are accessing these types of incentives. And again, I think the departments recognise this. They're looking to put in place initiatives to ensure that employers are made more aware of these types of initiatives. It's work that we do at the INOU. So when an employer announces that they are creating jobs, we have a dedicated member of staff in the organisation that contacts that employer to make the case to the employer to recruit unemployed people and to highlight the incentives that are available to them.
All right, well, hopefully employers listening to that will actually take you up on that offer and will actually contact you and see the benefits to actually taking somebody off the live register. John Stewart from the National Organisation of the Unemployed, thank you very much indeed for joining us today on LMFM.
Not at all, Laura, thank you.